Oh man.
Liftoff will start in T-minus 10 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All right, guys, here we are. No.
What up? What up? What up?
Hey, here we are. It's been a hot minute.
Well, for some of us, it's probably a hot minute. It's been freezing minutes here.
Well,
But,
this is frozen takes, so it is freezing minutes, not hot minutes.
Haha.
Aha.
All this time, and yet we still hit the ground running. For all of those of you that are watching, thank you for watching us. We are Frozen Takes. We are three guys with absolutely no credentials. We are not insiders. We're just three dum-dums who like to talk sports and argue about them till we're blue in the face. I'm Alex. I'm joined by my buddies Ray and Fred. Guys, how are you guys doing tonight?
Happy 2026, fellas.
Happy 2020. Happy New Year.
I'm a few bricks shy of spectacular, so I'm doing.
Good. Well, so the big one that we want to talk about on this episode of Frozen Takes is the 2025-2026 NFL season. The regular season has wrapped up, and we're going to be getting ready to enter the playoffs here this weekend. We got some games coming up on Saturday and Sunday.
And Friday, I believe.
Talk about Green Bay is barely made it.
Whoa! Don't. We
There's no
clinched
such thing
prior.
as
There was no
barely.
barely made it. We clinched prior to week 18.
And then you give yourselves a heart attack.
No. You want to talk about barely? That's the Pittsburgh Steelers. If you watch that game Sunday night, that's barely.
You want to talk about barely? My team almost
had the number 1 overall pick.
Had the number 1 pick until they threw it away. Which we'll get to that. We'll get to that whenever I throw down my Giants rant. But yeah.
We got a lot to talk about. A few hurt feelings, but we'll get over it. So, guys, before we really start diving into the NFL regular season, let's talk about what, in our opinion, has been some of the biggest surprises, both good and bad, of the regular season. Let's just start off with the good first, and then we'll talk about the bad. What for you guys has been some of the more pleasant surprises from the 2025-2026 regular season?
I don't know if you want to say pleasant, but I think the biggest surprise is the New England Patriots this year. They went from 4-13 last year to 14-3, a 10-game swap from last season. Almost worst to first. I think they were the worst. I don't know if the Jets were below them but they came out of nowhere and they blew it up this year. They were just shy of getting the number 1 seed, 14-3, the same record as the Denver Broncos, who have the number 1 seed. But yeah, New England was the biggest surprise for me as far as the good. So
I have to agree there. I mean, I did not have them even getting into the playoffs. Excuse me. In our preseason predictions, I didn't think they were going to even much less sniff the playoffs, let alone be competing for the number 1 seed. I think Ray, they were only like a half game or game and a half back from the number 1 seed.
I think it was some kind of tiebreaker. I forget what here. It says win tiebreaker over New England based on their best winning percentage in common games. So
No, it was
Whatever
just
common opponents. Yeah, it was just by the slim of that much.
it was a whisker. So that's been a pleasant surprise. I mean,
about
they got
Fred?
great. Yeah. What about you, Fred?
I mean, probably the most gleaming one to me is the fact that my respect for and love for falconry and all those who support it have absolutely, though, okay, yeah, you had a 500 record for the season, but primetime games, the Falconers showed up.
They did.
So as far as our picks were concerned, I was happy with the fact that even though it started off as a joke, the falconry kind of worked in its favor for me.
I think the good part of falconry is how they knocked Alex's Buccaneers out of the playoffs. That team he was so high on in the top of the year.
That is true. That is true.
On the Bucs, man, did they let me down, man? But yeah, no, I would have to agree with Ray here. I have two to really talk about. First, yes, the New England Patriots, they completely surprised me, especially with their brand new head coach, Mike Vrabel, first year as the New England Patriots head coach. Sorry.
Did you say New Patriots England?
Yes, I did, and I've only so far had only one sip so far, so that's a good indicator of how this is going to go.
Becky, get the flag. He's flagged.
Yeah.
But yeah, Mike Vrabel in his first year as the New England Patriots head coach has really done a stellar job getting the guys up there in New England so close to the number one seed. I mean, the AFC really has been a bit of a surprise for me, and the New England Patriots are right up there. And then for me, the Seattle Seahawks, in my personal opinion, have quietly been the best team in the NFC this year. Yes, they are the number one seed. Yes, they have the best record in the NFC, but they've been quietly the best. Like, they haven't been flashy. They haven't been in your face. They've been quietly stacking up wins, and now they get to rest in the first week of the playoffs.
I still don't have faith in Sam Darnold. That's they're one and done. I don't have faith in Sam Darnold still.
Wow. Well, we will see. We shall see. But any given Sunday, any given Saturday, in this case, we shall see. Now, let's talk about some of the biggest letdowns, some of the biggest surprises, bad surprises in the NFL. Fred, why don't you go first on this one? What for you has been the biggest letdown?
Let's talk about the Eagles' record. I'm just kidding. No.
Let's talk about the Giants. I'm just kidding.
Okay, so I'll be honest with you. The injuries of Neighbors and Scattaboo
without
sealed the deal for the Giants this season. The management started off the ball rolling the wrong direction, and leaving Russell Wilson in that second game absolutely sealed the deal, and just kept that ball rolling. The parts are definitely there, but those parts didn't work out this season at all. And depending on health and conditions, and then obviously it's still an up in the air scramble over who's going to become. But honestly, I think by the end of by camp next year, we might see more than two people get changed over as far as coaching staff. I think we might have a almost complete overhaul. So I guess the big disappointment for me was the hope and glimmer of seeing actual football being played in New York, and then injuries taking that away and coaching taking that away. Sort of the plight of a Giants fan.
Yeah. Ray, what about you, buddy?
The biggest disappointment this year is how high I was on the Baltimore Ravens and the downfall of the Baltimore Ravens.
And we'll be talking
This
to
is
them.
this is a later segment whenever we get past the regular season part of it right
Yeah.
here, but heads were going to roll like I told you if they didn't. John Harbaugh just got fired yesterday, and
And that's something
heads
you and I
roll.
talked about at the beginning of the year. You and I both predicted that.
That's what I said at the beginning of the year. Either Baltimore wins it or somebody's getting fired. Sure enough, he didn't get Black Monday. He got Black Tuesday. But either way, I mean, however you want to look at it, he ended up paying the price for it. And there's even rumors about Lamar getting traded. Granted, those are just rumors. I don't think Lamar is going to go anywhere, if I'm being honest. But it was literally, like I said, heads are going to roll, and heads have been rolling. So
I agree. And for me, I have two. For me, one of the biggest surprises in the negative for me was the Kansas City Chiefs this year. They just did not look like the Kansas City Chiefs we've seen over the past few years. I really do think that, and as the Eagles fan, I'd like to take credit for it, but I really do think that to a certain extent, the loss in Super Bowl 59 really kind of shook the Chiefs to their core, and they just haven't been able to recover since. This is the first time in a long time that the Chiefs will not be in the playoffs, which leaves kind of a power vacuum in the AFC. We're going to see how that kind of shakes out in the playoffs this year. I was not expecting them to perform this poorly. And then, on the other side, I was not expecting Washington to be this poor. I was expecting
killed them too, if I'm being honest, because look what happened to Daniels. They never regained momentum. They brought him back in, hurt the game he got brought back in.
Yeah. And
derailed
this a few times, and I'm pretty sure, like we said it, I've said it in our own private conversations, but I had said it before on one of our podcasts that Jaden Daniels' injury needed to be managed properly because I could see this becoming another RG3 situation. Thankfully, they shut him down, which was the right decision. Which hopefully with physical therapy and rehab, hopefully Jaden Daniels can come out in his third year and we can see kind of what we saw from him in his rookie season last year. But the Washington, almost called them the Redskins, but the Washington Commanders this season they just were a complete disappointment for me. I really expected a lot more from them.
I have one more disappointment that I forgot about, and I want to touch base on it here. I'm disappointed at the Indianapolis Colts. Not for how they started. No. Not for how they started and how they finished, but for benching Phillip Rivers in Week 18. You brought the guy back. Let him finish Week 18. Come on. He has 10 kids he has to take care of. Come on.
Yep.
I mean, on a serious note, it was nice for me. It kind of made me feel old. But it was nice to see Phillip Rivers back out there on the football field. And Ray, you and I had talked about this before. And I
playing amazing.
Yeah, he did. He did really well. 44 years old, and he's slinging it out there.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when he came back, Aaron Rodgers went on the interview and said, I'm just glad I'm not the oldest one in the league right now. So
yes. This all over social media, how people were looking at Phillip Rivers and saying, wait a second, we haven't seen quarterback play like this, honestly, since Phillip Rivers retired.
Mm-hmm.
The quarterback under the line of scrimmage, making protection changes, making audibles like Phillip Rivers was making, changing route concepts, hot routing. Like, you just don't see that in the NFL anymore now. Now it's a lot more scheme-based. You go through your checks, you go through your progressions, you change the protection, and that's about it. You maybe check and we've seen this before, where you'll call two plays in the huddle. You get to the line. If the quarterback doesn't like what he sees, can usually means, hey, we're switching the play. Or some teams call it Apple. Different teams call it different things. But they'll
Omaha,
or Omaha. For those of you that know Peyton Manning and Omaha, they'll can or trash the first play call and they'll switch to the second play call. But that's about all you see anymore in the NFL now. It's not like how it used to be. The days of quarterbacks basically playing Madden on the football field, changing every little thing, you just don't see that anymore. And it was honestly kind of refreshing to see it.
Yeah.
I honestly think that was part of what Brett Favre was trying to do around like week 15, 14, 15, when he was getting frustrated with his teammates, getting frustrated with the coaches, because he is from that era. And, being able to play that way and then come back to,
Am I just hearing things, or did he say Brett Favre and not Phillip Rivers?
I said Aaron. I meant to say Aaron Rodgers. If I said Brett Favre, sorry.
Wait a second, Brett Favre?
Brett Favre. You can take both his arms, legs away. He'd still have the best torso in football.
Oh, I like
Some crappy former Green Bay player. They're all the same to me.
Oh man.
But yeah, I think that former gameplay kind of showed its face with Aaron Rodgers too this season.
Yeah, it was refreshing to see Phillip Rivers out there. It's fun to see kind of that fiery personality that Phillip Rivers has. You do have personalities in the NFL, but they're not like Phillip Rivers. Phillip Rivers is a trash talking quarterback, and you really don't see that in the NFL anymore. So it was nice for those old those of us that are now seasoned, is how I'll say it. Those of us that have been seasoned, it was nice to see that.
How old do you think we are?
Dude, honestly, come on. We're not young anymore. We're old. We're old.
Right. Your hairline has been receding more years than my kids have been alive. So
what hairline? You skinny hair? What hairline?
What hairline? All right. Well, that's our biggest surprises and disappointments of the 2025-2026 NFL season. So let's dive into our regular season recap. Ray, you had some notes that you had taken. I'm going to defer to you here. What's something that you want to touch on? Like if you had to look at the 2025-2026 regular season and say, this is what the season was in a nutshell, what would you say that would be?
Well, I wouldn't say in a nutshell, but there's two things that I want to do. And one of them is poke fun at a team, and the other one is bring up a record that has only happened, actually, well, not record, but something that's only happened twice in the Super Bowl era history. The first one, we're going to poke fun at a New York team, not named the Giants. Don't worry, Fred.
New York
Wait,
football.
There's more than one New York team?
Well, technically, the Buffalo Bills are the only New York team, but yeah, I went there. But anyway, the New York
is a plant.
The New York Jets became the first team in NFL history to go full season without a single interception.
Yes.
I'm going to put this in perspective for you. The stat first began recorded in 1932. Do you know when the first jet was invented? 1939. That's how bad the Jets did this season.
Wow.
So let's just put that in perspective. Their mascot logo is newer than a record that shouldn't have been broken.
My stepfather-in-law is a Jets fan, and I'm certain he is aware of that stat. He would not be happy that we're discussing that stat right now.
I think it's hilarious. I just wanted to bring that up for those Jet fans. Derek, if you watch this, I know you're good friends with me. I apologize, but it is what it is.
But I mean, that's something to think about, though, that in an NFL defense goes an entire year without recording a single interception. I mean, yeah, that's like an incredible, like, holy cow, like you actually did that thing. But that, I think, speaks to a few things. One, the Jets traded away their best corner that they had, Sauce Gardner, right at the trade deadline to the Colts. So it takes away some talent there. But also, after you let go of Sauce Gardner, what else do you really have on the Jets defense? If you forced me to and put a pew-pew to my head, I couldn't name anybody on that defense.
I'm all for giving a coach their chance to bring in their own system. I don't like the NFL teams that fire a coach after 1 year. If you hire somebody, give them a couple years to bring in his guys, put in a system. You can't learn a system in 1 year and expect it to be perfect. You fire him after 1 year, you're not even letting the system take chance. You hired a guy for nothing, a placeholder, essentially.
Right.
So here's what I think he needs to have his second year. He did make those trades, but he also got a lot of draft capital. But at the same time, I've heard a lot of reports out of a lot of New York Jets fans and camps that he didn't make a lot of head coaching decisions. He wasn't really a head coach. So how does that factor in going into next season as well?
Honestly, I think the Jets, and I know we're talking about the Jets a lot here, and we will move off of the Jets, but I think the Jets have a real ownership problem. For whatever reason, their ownership just cannot get their fingers out of the front office, and that's affecting the product on the football field. I really think that if they get a decent enough GM and the ownership lets go and lets the people that know football make football decisions, let coaches be football coaches, you'll start to see some success from the Jets. But until then, you're just not going to see that from the Jets.
Yeah.
I kind of liken them to the minus an amazing farm system. I kind of liken them to the Pittsburgh Pirates because the same deal. They have a stadium they're only paying half for. They have income that is essentially guaranteed, and no matter who they put on the field, somebody's going to show up to their games. They just have to keep enough of a notoriety going that they can make budget and, have some room to move around. But them, like you said, the ownership, I think is a real issue there, just like, I talked about with the Pirates for their ownership.
Yeah. So the Jets are a mess. Right. Great statistic there. Now, go ahead.
Number two. We got number two here.
You with it?
Ray's going to do number 2, ladies and gentlemen.
Boom. Anyway. So the NFC North has done something that has only happened twice in the Super Bowl era. The only other time was back in 2023 with the AFC North. And that is every single team finished above 500. All 4 teams above 500 record. The Lions, who finished in 4th, believe it or not, 9-8. Vikings in 3rd, 9-8. Green Bay 9-7-1. And then the Lions were, I believe, 11-6. So that's an incredible feat for the NFC North and just shows how tough it was just to make headway in that division this year.
I agree. And I know I had said at the beginning of the year that I thought the NFC East was going to be the NFC Beast. I was way off. The NFC North.
Still us.
Whatever. The NFC North really was very competitive. The Bears are another surprise for me. They were kind of came out of nowhere for me. Caleb Williams played better in his second season.
I told you it was going to happen. It's the cycle of the Bears all over again. I told you it was going to happen.
You did, and that was one you were right on. I really thought the Lions were going to be better. They kind of disappointed me. But again, the Lions' injuries kind of caught up to them, and their schedule caught up to them. Being the number 1 team out of your division, you're playing a number 1 schedule, and we saw what happened. Whenever injuries kind of take their toll, and you're playing a number 1 schedule, you get subpar results.
Yeah. And something to shout out for the Lions fans out there, too. The Lions, this is their 4th winning season in a row. Something that hasn't happened for them, being one of the losingest franchises in how long either. So,
and
props to Dan Campbell for that, if I'm being honest. He's a great head coach. So.
Did great and came, honestly, a whisper away from Super Bowl 58 2 years ago. Really, the Lions should have been in the Super Bowl 2 years ago in Super Bowl 58. I think that the Lions would have given the Chiefs a run for their money, and who knows, they could have had their first Lombardi trophy after that game, but it didn't happen, and you never know what could have been. Now, since we're in the NFC, let's continue talking about the NFC, and let's talk about the NFC East, since 2 of us have teams in the NFC East for the first time in over 20 years. Excuse me. For the first time in over 20 years, there is now a back-to-back NFC East champion, and it is the Philadelphia Eagles. But the Eagles did not have as good of a season as Ray and I thought they would. That said, they are still in the playoffs. They're the number 3 seed. They did have a chance to be the number 2, but they let that slip away because they lost to the Washington Commanders. Let's talk NFC East. Fred, what has been your takeaway from the NFC East as a division in general?
Well, honestly, your take on the Commanders was kind of a disappointment. The gap between the top 2 teams and the bottom 2 teams is crazy big. The almost to a point where the other 2 were insignificant and kind of gave opportunity for other teams to climb in the ranks. The Eagles obviously had, they didn't lose much. So coming back strong, yes, some ripples throughout the season, but truth be told, the Eagles had to have done something decent this season.
I mean, I don't mean to interrupt, but just speaking from the NFL, from the Eagles at least, the Eagles obviously being the Super Bowl champions, they're going to be getting everybody's best game going into the season. They're also going to have, and arguably had, one of the toughest seasons and one of the toughest schedules in NFL history. At no point in this season did they have a back-to-back home game. They were always going home, away, home, away, home, away, home, away. That was tough. For them to go 11 and what was it? 11 and 12 and 11 and 5, 11 and 6 or something like that. And still 11 and 6, thank you. 11 and 6 with arguably one of the hardest schedules in the entire NFL, and still their offense underperforming. That's not bad. I mean, as an Eagles fan, obviously I'm disappointed. I really thought the Eagles were going to go 14-3. We'll see how they do in the playoffs. I think they're going to be one and done. But honestly, they kind of handled their schedule as best as you could possibly imagine, given their offensive coordinator situation.
Right. And the other thing I was surprised about the Cowboys.
Yes.
I thought they came out strong in the beginning. It seemed as though the
opening game there in Philadelphia too, with Jalen Carter getting ejected before the game even started.
Right. Like the Cowboys definitely were a downfall to themselves this season. And I think that was a bit of a surprise. I really don't think, as far as gameplay was concerned, that I would have predicted them to go 7-9 at all. I would have said 500 at least. But yeah, they definitely, toppled themselves. And obviously the Commanders, I gave my take on that. And then the Giants, this whole season has been, from week 1, we knew there was going to be drastic changes happening. And the changes were all seemingly too little too late.
Yeah.
And then the injury wave hit, and we don't wish that upon any players or any teams, but I think that cascade just created an avalanche, and there was no climbing out of it. Dart has an amazing opportunity next season.
Yes.
I think it was absolutely foolish for the Giants to have played him another down after they were about to get the number 1 pick, and then they throw that away because I don't know, because they wanted to get another W or 2, but really that number 1 pick was more valuable than a few stats and Jackson Dart having confidence going into the end of the season.
I agree. And honestly, I mean, if you're a Giants fan, yes, you're disappointed in the results of the season. You're disappointed you lost out on the number 1 overall pick. But at the same time, you still have to be kind of hopeful for the future to some degree. You have a decent core. You do have Jackson Dart. You have Malik Neighbors. You have Cam Scatterbo on
And
the
a
offensive.
great defense.
Now, Cam Scatterbo, his injury is significant. The kind of injury that running back sustained, that he sustained, is a tough one to bounce back from, and they're never really fully the same. We'll see how he rehabs. We'll see. One thing to watch out for is their defense. They did draft Abdul Carter in this past draft. We all thought that he was going to be gangbusters, but honestly, he kind of underperformed, and there were rumors that he just kind of skipped out on team meetings once he was put into the starting lineup. We'll see how Abdul Carter progresses. It's too early to take.
Part of that was
having some hope.
I think part of that was the catalyst for the defensive coordinator change, because I think they were going into games playing opposite of what they should have. So, games where they should have been protecting close to the line, they were laying back. And then games where they should have been laying back a little bit and watching for the passing game, they were, forcing the blitz. So it seemed as though everything that you would expect was upside down for most of the season.
Nice Stranger Things reference.
I was about to say that. My mind went Stranger Things too. So good call there. All right. So I think we've exhausted the NFC East. I want to touch on the NFC South, but let's go to the NFC West. I think they've been the NFC best this year, obviously. They have the number one seeded team out of that division, but the NFC West has been pretty darn good this year. Ray, your Cardinals, as I predicted, were not going to be as good as you thought they were. They're going to be sitting at home and in Cancun this offensive season, and Ray decided to dip out because he just didn't want to talk about the Cardinals. There he is. But the Cardinals are sitting at home, but 3 NFC West teams are in the playoffs. You got the Rams, the 49ers, and the Seahawks. Guys, let's talk about the NFC West. Ray, what's your take on the NFC West?
My take on the NFC West is this division will be representing the NFC in the Super Bowl.
Wow.
One of these 3 teams, it's not Seattle though, so it's either going to be the Rams or the 49ers. But this division will be representing the NFC in the Super Bowl this year.
Why are you so confident it's not Seattle?
I was confident enough to say the 49ers were going to win out up until their last game, and they did up until their last game. I thought they were going to win the last one, but they did not win the last one.
So speaking of the 49ers, they have overcome a lot of injuries this year. I mean, for them to be 12-5 with all the injuries they've suffered this year is quite an incredible feat, and really speaks to the coaching of Mike Shanahan. They've had injuries on the offensive and defensive side of the ball, but they are experiencing, going into this wild card round, an even bigger challenge. They don't have Fred Warner. Their defensive line is kind of depleted. Their offensive line just isn't very good, and they're going up against Philadelphia, which has arguably, in my opinion, and in a lot of analysts' opinions, the best defensive line in the NFL. They could be hitting a stumbling block. Now, me personally, as an Eagles fan, I think the Eagles are going to be one and done. But I think this is going to be a knockdown, drag-out fight for the 49ers. We'll see what happens. I think a lot is going to hinge on this wild card weekend. We'll see how the NFC West teams do this week.
Correct you, by the way, it's Kyle Shanahan, not Mike Shanahan.
Kyle Shanahan, thank you. Kyle Shanahan, thank you. But yeah, you do have, like you said, the Seahawks. They are the number one seed. I'm riding the Seahawks a little bit higher than you, Ray. But I think the 49ers, the injuries got to catch up to them at some point.
I'm just not high on Seattle, literally because of Darnold. Darnold has proven he cannot win the big game. Until we can get some kind of proof that he's finally going to step out of that shadow, I'm not putting my eggs in that basket.
What do you think, Fred?
I think closing the door on the Seahawks is
unwise, early, prudent.
I think it's definitely early, because if you look at the performance between Seattle, like you said, they've been quietly taking care of business this season. And while, yes, their record is the same as the Rams kind of won the games we expected them to win. Where
except for the
Seattle,
Except for the Panthers, yeah.
Right. But we also weren't expecting the Panthers to do what they did either. So
my daughter has gotten a kick out of her team in the playoffs and Miles' team not in the playoffs, so she has enjoyed that a little bit this year. So.
But I think we still need to watch Seattle. I don't think the Niners are going to take it. I really think it's, at least from the West, it's either LA or Seattle, but I can't say 100% which one yet because
Oh.
I agree with you on the Rams, but I think San Francisco has a better shot than Seattle. I'm the opposite on you in that part of it.
The one thing the Rams do have, and it's one guy. Well, I mean, it's a few guys, but one big catalyst, it's Matt Stafford. Matt Stafford has been, honestly, in my personal opinion, so far, the best quarterback in the NFL.
Drake May.
I wouldn't go that far.
Drake May.
I don't know. I mean, we'll see how things go. If the Rams get to the Super Bowl, then I'm willing to say that I was right and I knew better than y'all. But we'll see. Now,
well, if the Patriots make it, that doesn't prove anything to you because both of them are in it then.
Anyway.
Yeah, exactly. You got nothing for that. That's right. Now, move on.
Now, I would love to talk myself about the NFC South because my mother-in-law, her favorite team is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and I will admit I thought the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were going to be the number 1 seed. They were going to be 15-2, but oh boy, howdy, was I wrong. Let's talk about the NFC South because honestly, there were some dramatics going into the last week of the season with the NFC South. Now, I have to dip out for a hot second. I have to take the dog out. But guys, the NFC South honestly provided more drama than I initially thought they would.
The NFC South actually provided drama for the whole NFL because there's been a lot of debate now, at least from the on the chat rooms that I'm in on Facebook. I don't know how much you've dived into that, Fred, on the Frozen Takes page. A lot of the NFC North is saying, how come the Panthers are in the playoffs with a losing record, but yet we have these teams at 9-8, 9-8, and they're missing the playoffs? Why is it that teams with losing records, even though you win your division, are still in the playoffs? Because of how bad the NFC South is, there's talks of a playoff realignment amongst a lot of fans in the NFL. I don't know if you've noticed that, Fred. I don't know if you agree with any of that.
I mean, there is no standout team in the NFC South.
No, there's really not. None of them. I mean, all 3 of the teams finished with the same record at 8-9. The only reason the Panthers are in is because of a tiebreaker. So
right. Now, I will say, I really wasn't expecting more than 500 out of any of these teams.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't like, any of them was a shocker that they blew the season and that's why they're this bad. Like, I definitely was not putting money on any of these guys. My running joke with Falconry, as a week by week pick standpoint, I had my reasons for that. But even still, we weren't betting on them every week.
Yeah.
Like it was just the primetime game. So those matchups made it significantly different as to why I was putting more eggs in the Falcons basket. But as far as the South is concerned, I would agree that some type of something, I think, is out of balance.
I'm interested to see how Atlanta comes out firing next year, because just to kind of dip into a little bit of a preview to our Black Monday segment here, the Falcons have gone into a complete fire sale, cleaning house. We're starting fresh. They have fired head coach Raheem Morris, fired GM Terry Frontnot, and the CEO of the Falcons, Rich McKay, gone. They completely wiped the slate, cleaned house, and said, we're starting over. we need to get this right. So I think Atlanta is going to be a team to watch for next year, depending on who they bring in.
I think so too. Now, I will say this: Raheem Morris, he is going to be a guy to watch in the offseason where he's going to get hired. I don't think he's going to be a head coaching hire, but I do think he would be a great defensive coordinator hire. He is known for really being a good defensive mind. He's been known to get guys behind him on the defensive side. So if you're an NFL team that needs help on the defensive side of the football, not that the Houston, I mean, I'm just throwing this out there, not that the Houston Texans are bad at defense because they do have D'Amico Ryans as their head coach. But if I were Raheem Morris, I would almost be eyeing up Houston. They have the pieces there. I would almost be wanting to look at the Houston Texans if I'm Raheem Morris for my next job.
But I mean, and even with staying on the NFC South, kind of going back to that a little bit, I think, to be honest with you, out of all the teams in this division, Atlanta was the most complete, and they just had a couple inconsistent weeks and a couple inconsistent games away from winning that. 3-way tie, you have one of those games they should have won and lost, flipped around, they're winning the division. They're the ones in the playoffs.
Yeah, and honestly, it came down to the last 2 weeks of the season. It could have been the Seahawks, or not the Seahawks, it could have been the Saints there for a hot second. We thought, analysts thought, maybe they're going to squeak in. And then they did. And then we're like, ooh, maybe it's going to be the Bucs, and they squeak in. But then they drop the ball. And then here come the Carolina Panthers. They clean it up. They mop up the mess. I will admit, guys, I don't often admit that I'm wrong. I was wrong. I've been sufficiently humbled. I really thought
you're an Eagles fan. You're usually wrong, so it's okay.
Shut up. I really thought that the Buccaneers had a favorable schedule. As we've said numerous times, the NFC South is arguably the weakest division in the entire NFL. And I thought that the Buccaneers had the most complete team. They had, in my opinion, the best quarterback in the division, the best offense in the division, the best defense in the division. I really thought they were going to kind of clean house in the regular season. Granted, be one and done in the playoffs, but boy, was I wrong.
And I forgot what my brain just went dead.
Yeah, like we were talking about while you were on hiatus, the entire South is not
he missed
what
that. Yeah,
the rest of the NFL is. So them all being all underperforming, all being under 500. Like I said before, the Falcons were kind of my primetime moneymaker, but that also still only amounted to less than 500. So I
mean, I get
Did you catch what I was talking about when we started? Okay.
Yes, and I get the argument for wanting to maybe do like an NHL type of playoff seeding. I get that to some extent.
I hate that, and you know how much I hate that, and I wish they'd get rid of it, but I know they're not going to.
And they're not going to. But I don't know. I'm not. I still think that it makes sense to have every division represented in the NFL playoffs. But I also agree there needs to be some kind of reimagining of the playoffs. I don't know if that maybe means that there's a play-in round, or maybe we go back to the way it was where the 1 and 2 seeds had buys and we just reduce the playoff field.
Why don't you just give your division winners an automatic bid and then just go by best record?
But that still leaves you a situation like we had this year when you have a sub-500 team.
But they're not at home, though. They're not getting an automatic home game. Like Carolina's getting a home game against the Rams, who we're considering as possibly a Super Bowl favorite. You get what I'm trying to say there?
Touche. I will take that. I will take that, and I will eat that. All right. So we have talked about the NFC.
Wait. Did you just say you would eat that Tushy?
He said Jameis Winston. He's going to eat that W.
Whatever. So we've sufficiently covered the NFC. Let's touch on the AFC. Let's talk about the elephant in the room, guys. Let's touch on shut up, Ray. Oh, my God. Sometimes I swear. Let's talk about the biggest matchup of Week 18, and this is the one that caused one team to go to the playoffs and one head coach to go home. That was the Steelers and the Ravens and their whole division. Guys, you talk about, yes, the NFC South gave us weeks-long dramatics, but if you had to condense that into one game of drama, that's the Seahawks and the Ravens in Week 18.
The Seahawks and Ravens?
I'm sorry, not the
Sure
Seahawks.
they're in different conferences, sir. They're not even. Yeah, where are you going with this?
Okay, maybe I had a little too much. We
Wait,
were talking-
sidebar. Let's take a moment of silence for Shagur Sanders.
Oh, jeez. Shadur.
I think
he
we
got
need.
robbed.
I think Sanders needs a moment of silence. Okay, we're good. Let's continue.
Conversation. Sorry, I maybe had a nip too much. Yes, talking about the Steelers and the Ravens. I mean, if you want to condense drama into one game, that game had it, and it came down to very literally the last second. If you're the Ravens rookie kicker, you've got to be feeling for yourself, because if I were the Ravens kicker, I would almost feel like Jim Harbaugh getting fired is my responsibility because I missed that field goal. But also, it never should have gotten to that point. But guys, let's talk about the division, and let's talk about the last game of the year that everybody was watching, the Ravens and the Steelers.
First of all, let me start off with, it is crazy that no one predicted the weather pattern that caused that football to fly so far off. Like I have to say, I get pressure. I get, any given moment, any given play, things happen. But the conspiracy guy in me says, when it's that far off, that blatant, that obvious, could it be unintentional? Like, could it really be unintentional?
Yeah.
Or is it staring us like blatantly in the face? The Ravens threw the game.
I don't know about that.
I don't know about that. I'm not.
Listen. Baseball has had it. Blatant, clear as day this season. The betting stuff, all of that. I think it's going on in football too, but it hasn't surfaced. That play, I think, was too obvious to not be something else going on than a whoops, football slipped.
I know when I was in Baltimore with my son to watch them play New England, the biggest thing down there amongst all the fans was, we want Harbaugh gone. Not because he's a bad coach, but why are you benching Derrick Henry in the fourth quarter with a 10-plus point lead? That was a lot of, I think, the reasoning to him getting fired, because they could have wrapped up a lot of games. Going back to how many years now? Look at, if you go back and look at the stats, they had how many not triple, well, that's going too far, but double-digit leads, and they just lose the game in the last couple minutes because they're not running the ball. They're trying to put too much on Lamar Jackson and giving him the ball.
Yeah, I agree. I think you don't see guys that have head coaches anyway with that long of a tenure in the NFL anymore. Honestly, 5-6 years is kind of the cutoff. So Jim Harbaugh and Mike Tomlin are kind of the old heads that have been in their organizations forever. They've had
Finish
their
what you're saying. Finish what you're saying,
you,
but I got a Mike Tomlin quote for you from the press conference after that game. I think you guys will like it. So go ahead and finish what you're saying.
I'll finish, but I do think that after 18 years, and we discussed it many times, that it was kind of Super Bowl or bust for the Ravens, and it's hard to see Jim Harbaugh go. It's really unfortunate because he is a very good head coach. He's a good person. He has really benefited the Baltimore area a lot. The fans really do. I understand what you said, right? A lot of fans wanted him gone, but when you look back, and hindsight is 2020, Jim Harbaugh took the Ravens from obscurity when they were, a startup NFL team, and made them into perennial winners, and won a Super Bowl with kind of a no-name quarterback, and then won. With Joe Flacco. Well, I don't mean with Joe Flacco. I'm sorry. I'm thinking about a different era. This was before.
No,
sorry.
they won one with Trent Dilfer way back when. He
Dilfer,
won
yeah.
one as the head coach with Joe Flacco.
With
You're
Joe
getting
Flacco.
a bunch of stuff mixed up there.
I'm mixing eras here.
Yeah.
But Jim Harbaugh won a Super Bowl with Joe Flacco. And some guys, some analysts thought that Joe Flacco was a great game manager, but not a Super Bowl winner. He proved them wrong. Now, granted, he only won one Super Bowl. So I think Jim Harbaugh, unfortunately, the sun set, and it's time for him to move on. Now, Jim Harbaugh, speaking of Jim Harbaugh, I think he has some interesting options. Now, there's plenty of teams looking for head coaches, New York being one of them. I think if Jim Harbaugh wanted to be a head coach again right away, he could be, and he has his pick of the litter. But I think, honestly, Jim Harbaugh has three choices that are the better choices for him. Choice number one, take a year off and study the game of football and really analyze where he went right and went wrong and come back ready to go for the 2027 NFL season. That's option one. Option two, take a coordinator role. And I know this sounds crazy as a Philadelphia Eagles fan. I'm thinking complete conspiracy theory like you, Fred. Maybe be the offensive coordinator for the Eagles. Go back to where your career started. The Eagles have a good offensive roster. He doesn't have to be the guy, and the Eagles clearly need a better offensive coordinator. Maybe use that as a way to kind of get yourself reinvigorated. That's option two. Or option three, do what your brother did and go to college.
He ain't going to go to college. He's going to stick in the NFL. He's 45 minutes after Harbaugh being fired, there were 5 NFL teams saying, hey, we want you. What do we need? What do we need to do? He's staying in the NFL.
I'm just saying if I were Jim Harbaugh, my options.
I think as far as Harbaugh is concerned, yeah, he's staying in the NFL. It's just a matter of which team's going to pick him up. And with the turmoil of how many head coaches have been canned, it's sort of the luck of the draw as far as where he's going to end up.
Yeah.
But there's too many teams that need someone who, even if it's just for sake of a fresh face, Harbaugh's not a bad face to put in that role, Yeah.
And I'm going to give you this Mike Tomlin quote. Hopefully this isn't too loud on my phone. I want you guys to really listen to this and let me know what you think, if this is classic Mike Tomlin or if it's just him being hilarious after beating the Ravens.
Make that kick, season's over, comes to a screeching halt, and missing that kick and the winter going on.
You know how it is. If my aunt had male parts, she'd be my uncle.
You know how it is. If my aunt had lady parts, she'd be my uncle.
What? And Mike Tomlin has said some weird things. This one took the cake.
That was his response to the field goal at the end of the game.
That's a weird analogy.
That's great. That is great.
That's crazy.
Now that we've taken a moment to make fun of Tomlin, I do have to give a little down memory lane since we are Frozen Takes, and we absolutely have said we're going to make some bad predictions. I'm just going to throw this up here because this was a prediction made by Ray in one of the first weeks.
MVP.
He got hurt too. He got hurt. You can't judge me for that.
And
he
then,
got hurt.
And then,
okay. And I said heads were going to roll if they didn't win too.
So let's throw the consistency. Okay, I got to allude to this. The consistency of Ray's picks and predictions rolling just as much as the heads in the NFL are doing right now for Black Wednesday.
Speaking of Frozen Takes and our predictions, I said at the beginning of the year that, now granted I was a little bit off, but I wasn't off by much, that by the middle of the season, Shedeur Sanders would be the starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns, and sure enough, he ended the year as their starter. And
if Gabriel wouldn't have got a concussion, he wouldn't have been starting.
but he started.
Yeah,
Injuries
he's there.
change everything.
But he started.
That's why I said we needed to give him a moment of silence, because as talked about and as hyped up as he was, I got to go back to Shakespeare on this one. A rose by any other name would never made the NFL. So
Wait.
he's living living off the coattails.
I mean,
Living on a prayer.
he didn't play great at times. However, he did show flashes, and in the very last game of the year, drove the Browns down the field and won the game. Now, I know we've been living in this division for a while. Is there any other takes we want to take out of this division before we move on to a different division?
Could we possibly see 3 head coaches in this division fired by the end of the year? That's my take for this division, because Browns Kevin, is it Stefanski or Stefanski fired. Ravens John Harbaugh fired. Tomlin has been rumored to be fired if he can't finally pull it out, which he made the playoffs, but can he actually win a playoff game? The only one that's kept their job in that division so far and has been announced that they're keeping their job, Zach Taylor of the Bengals.
Which is surprising.
Yes. So, I mean, Zach Taylor could be, by the end of the year, the longest tenured coach in the AFC North. Potentially.
Yeah, just wild. So anyway, we've been living in the AFC North enough. Let's talk about the AFC East. The Patriots have just run away with this division, and I will admit, I also predicted that the Miami Dolphins, they were going to start out 7-0, and then they would falter. They just faltered out of the gate. This division kind of surprised me. I'll admit, it's taken me by surprise.
Other than New England, which was the biggest surprise, I think, out of any team in the NFL, I think the rest of the division was kind of on par with what I expected it to be. It was going to be Buffalo, is what I predicted, and then everybody else. And it turned into Buffalo, but New England was just a bit ahead of them, which nobody predicted that, if we're being honest.
No, and when the played,
kept plugging along and doing their thing, and the Steelers had their flashes of glory every now and then that just kind of gave them a little bit of an edge. But
and honestly, I mean, I watched the Patriots and the Buffalo Bills game during the regular season. I was impressed at how well the Patriots were hanging with the Bills, because we were all 3 of us were high on the Bills. And the Patriots were just going toe-to-toe and just knocking the Bills out. I'm genuinely – I can't say enough about how well the Patriots have played this year and just how surprising they've been. And honestly, they've kind of retaken the mantle of the AFC East.
They did split their series against each other this year 1-1, though. I think it was – let me correct myself. I think the home team won, or was it –
it was the – away team actually that won both games.
Yes, the road team won both games. You are correct. So if that continues the trend, Buffalo is beating them in the playoffs if they were to beat them, if that trend would continue. But that's trends if you follow that stuff.
I like to say, if Ray decides that he wants to put money on something.
I didn't put money on it. I said if the trend continues. Difference.
But fair enough. I'll give you that one. So not a whole lot to talk about the AFC East. Let's talk about the AFC South. Now, I know how I had said how in the NFC West, the Seahawks were surprisingly and quietly being in the NFC West. You could say the same thing of the Jaguars in the AFC South. They've quietly been one of the better teams in the NFL.
Yeah, I fully expected them to drop off. I was never really high on Jacksonville. They did great, and I kept saying all year they're going to drop off. They're going to drop off. They're going to drop off. Houston's going to take it. Houston came alive like I told you they were going to, but Jacksonville never relinquished that spot either. Jacksonville rode high and stayed high the whole season.
And I think they've been playing the most complimentary football out of any team in the NFL. They don't have. I mean, yes, they have Trevor Lawrence. They have Travis Hunter. They
Which
got
T-Law surprised me in how well he's came alive this year. I figured he'd fall off. If
He's
it
played
wasn't for how great Drake May and Matt Stafford played this year, Lawrence would be in the running for MVP this year. I think he's like the third or fourth guy there, but with how good the top two guys are, he's not going to win.
I agree. I mean, aside from like Travis Hunter and Trevor Lawrence and a few names on defense, you can't really think of too many big names with the Jaguars, but they are playing incredibly good together. They're playing complementary football, and they're winning games. I think they're going to surprise a couple of teams in the playoffs this year.
Fred, go ahead, because I have a stat that I wanted to bring up, but I got to look it up real quick here again, make sure I have it right.
Yeah.
Fred, I know we've kind of ignored, honestly, the AFC South. And probably we've ignored it to our detriment. We've all been kind of focused on the Texans because we thought the Texans were the darlings of the AFC South, when really it was the Jaguars this whole time.
See, I've been most surprised about the Colts fall off. And obviously the Titans, I didn't have any kind of confidence in them from the beginning, but I don't think any of us really would have predicted the Jaguars really almost doing the same as what we talked about the Bills doing, we talked about Seattle doing.
Yeah, Seattle being quietly
doing their thing.
See, the Jaguars have been a quietly dominant football team.
Mm-hmm. And not the flashy headline drawers. So they're
you ignore them at your detriment.
Mm-hmm. And
so
it's very possible that we have a Super Bowl with two teams that have made less headlines than any other teams in the regular season in the entire NFL.
It could be quietly. It could be the most quiet, unhyped Super Bowl in NFL history.
Yep.
So here's a fun stat for you here. Let me know what you think of this. The Jaguars, since Jack Del Rio, have had 8 different coaches since Jack Del Rio in 2010. Okay? Liam Cohen, where do you think he is ranked record-wise amongst all those other coaches in his first year?
Number 1?
3. Number 3. His first year, he is ranked 3rd on Jaguars coaching list since Del Rio in 2010.
And that's something to say because Jack Del Rio was one heck of a coach.
Yes, and they just haven't had anybody since him. Maybe that Liam Cohen could finally be their guy.
He could be. I mean, and like we've talked, and I hate to keep like beating a dead horse here, but the Jaguars have been a quietly dominant team. Like you said, Fred, they haven't been generating a whole lot of headlines, but they haven't needed to. They've just been taking care of business, taking it one opponent at a time, and they've punched their ticket to the playoffs. And we've all kind of forgot about them.
Right.
And I think it's funny how you wrote Houston off, sir, this guy over here.
Yeah,
and I told you they were going to come back. I told you the Colts were going to fall, and you told me I was full crap. So I'm waiting for that apology, sir. I'll sit here and wait.
I am a big enough man to admit when I'm wrong. I am wrong on this one. I will eat crow.
Okay, I'll take that. I'll take that. Moving on.
I don't think the Texans are going to be one and done. I'm not ready to die on that hill yet.
I did not say the Colts were. Did I say that? I might have hopped on the Danny.
You did.
You did.
He got hurt though too. He got hurt though too.
Since we're in this division,
injuries ruined a lot of my predictions.
Division, I gotta bring back the fact that we don't know everything, and there's stuff that we're pulling out of our asses sometimes. But we have fun doing it, and we have fun making fun of Ray.
I said that Colts were going to fall once Indiana Jones got hurt. Sure enough. They fell.
Well, I think the NFC. The AFC South has given us a few pleasant surprises. Now,
Right.
what about the AFC West? When you think about the AFC West, I can really only think about one team, and that's the Chiefs. But they're not in the playoffs this year. I talked about them earlier in our podcast. How in my opinion, they're one of the biggest disappointments of the year. Guys, what do we make of this AFC West?
I had a feeling Kansas City was going to be off this year because I kept saying at the beginning of the year, they won so many games by one possession last year. They rode that into the playoffs, one possession wins. I think they were 10, 12. I might need to correct my number on that, but either way, it was double-digit one-win games last year. They coached on that in the playoffs.
Last season, they were 10-1 in 1 point win, or
something like that. Yes, and every single playoff win they had was a one possession win
until they got the Super Bowl and they got their break speed off.
So it was just a matter of time before it went, and that's what happened this year. And then injuries again happened to Kansas City. Everybody got hurt, suspensions. They just never had a chance to build momentum. They were derailed before they even had a chance to get started.
I have to admit something. The Chiefs were the downfall of my primetime picks this year because I kept hoping that they were going to pull something out and thinking the matchup should have been in Kansas City's favor when it didn't fall that way. And I think that fall off, it should not have been as significant as it was. But I think the Broncos and Chargers are right where we expected them to be.
And honestly, the Broncos have been, not as big as of a surprise as what the Patriots were. But I said to both of you guys at the beginning, and this is one where we can say Alex was right. I said at the beginning of the year, watch out for the Broncos. I was a little bit wrong.
You weren't wrong. I won't admit you were right, but you weren't wrong about this one.
That's the same thing as saying I'm right.
That statement is what the birth of this came from. Because whenever you said about the Broncos, that week was when they were playing.
It was Kansas City, wasn't it?
No, I thought they were playing. No, they had to have been playing another horse. So was it the?
It could have only been the Colts.
The Broncos played the Colts in week 2 of the NFL this year, and the Colts pulled out the win 29-28, putting the Colts at 2-0 and the Broncos at 1-1.
Said that's when
the Broncos. Blah, 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 blah. And I said, no, don't sleep on those Broncos quite yet. And so I was right.
That's where we were. That's where we were talking about the Battle of the Stallions. So
yeah. But I said at the beginning of the year, watch out for that
pick.
Yeah, I said, watch out for the Broncos. They're going to be one of the better teams out of the AFC. And sure enough, boy, howdy, Alex was right.
You weren't wrong.
I was right.
You weren't wrong.
I was right. But so the Chargers this year, out of the AFC West, they've been kind of up and down. They have Jim Harbaugh's other brother, John Harbaugh.
No, John Harbaugh got fired. Jim Harbaugh is the coach of the
Jim
Chargers.
Harbaugh. There's too many.
Where is? Dude, can we flag him yet, Fred? Can we please flag him from his alcohol consumption? Where's the yellow laundry? We need the yellow laundry.
I have white. No, I'm done. But any more than one Harbaugh is too many. But anyway, they have one of the Harbaugh brothers over in LA. The Chargers have been kind of up and down there. They've been kind of inconsistent. One thing that I don't understand is this love affair with Justin Herbert. I just don't get it.
I think he's a great quarterback. I think he's doing just fine. Jim Harbaugh is a very run-heavy system guy, and now I'm doing it. Look what you got me doing. Herbert is doing just fine. He's managing it like he needs to. They're 11-6. He's not doing anything spectacular, but he's managing it. That's all he needs to do in that offense is be a game manager.
he's this great quarterback. He's a game manager. He's not a great quarterback. He's a
In
game
that
manager.
system, he is a game manager because it's a run-heavy system, and you don't need a great quarterback for a run-heavy system. You put him in any other team where he has to pass the ball, Herbert's still a good quarterback. It's just the system he's in right now.
I don't know. What do you think, Fred?
I don't know. I kind of feel like it's the same situation as kicking it through the uprights and ending up kicking it into your own team's bench. It feels like it feels like the hopes and dreams of you may be able to rely on the running game, but at the same time, if that's all you're doing, you're predictable as hell and you're not that great of a quarterback.
And he's done just fine. They're 11-6. He's doing what he needs to do. They're winning in a run-heavy system.
So look, other than the Eagles game where he quite literally carried them on his back with one hand, which still pisses me off.
So in other words, you're mad that he beat the Eagles. That's what I'm getting out of this conversation now. Fred, did you catch that?
I've heard that.
Okay,
I heard some animosity there.
I'm glad we finally got to the root of this right here. So that
there's
makes
a little bubbling up behind that whiskey.
I'm not happy. Okay. But I don't know. I don't know. There's part of me that just wants to see Justin Herbert take over a game, not with his feet, but with his arm, and beat a team with his arm. That's all I want to see.
I mean, I feel like this is the argument that you and I have about Joe Burrow all the time. Where you think he's not great, and I think he's this great quarterback because look what the Bengals did without Joe Burrow, and look what they did with Joe Burrow.
Yeah, but there's a lot of other variables there. Like it wasn't just him. I
get it. The NFL, it's a team sport. You can't rely on just one person.
I gotta date myself here for a second. Okay, that's like saying that the Giants were amazing because Phil Simms was an incredible quarterback, but the real issue is without Lawrence Taylor, Phil Simms would not have been what he was.
With LT the whole time. Take away
Absolutely.
LT.
Lawrence Taylor would have, without Lawrence Taylor, Phil Simms would not have been able to produce, period.
They would not have won a Super Bowl. Without LT, no Super Bowl.
Right. So the reality is, yes, you might have a guy that on paper looks like an amazing quarterback, but what other pieces are in play to give him the time to do what he needs to do? Like, if it's a running game, doesn't need that much time for development, which means your offensive line can be mediocre and you still look good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So for a passing quarterback, you need a strong offensive line. So whenever yes, your team might be structured as a run-heavy team, that to me just translates as you got way less time that the offensive line can control the defense. That's it.
And from my perspective, that also means that if we're going to focus on the run game, that means we don't trust your arm enough to win.
Right.
All I'm saying about Joe Burrow is look at how bad the Bengals are without him, and look where he puts the Bengals whenever he's in. I'm not saying the Bengals are going to win just because of Joe Burrow. He still needs an offensive line, and he still needs a defense, but the Bengals are in contention for the number 1 overall draft pick if Joe Burrow doesn't step on the field, is what I'm trying to say.
Joe Burrow, we're talking about Justin Herbert, not able to die on that freaking hill. Anywho, let's touch on the one division we haven't touched on yet, and then we have a little plug that we want to put out there for you guys. It's a little tongue-in-cheek, a little plug that we're going to throw out there to you guys. Let's talk about the AFC North. Guys, this division, when I think about the AFC, I tend to kind of forget about the AFC North.
I thought we already talked about the AFC.
Oh, we talked about the AFC North. Oh my God, I'm sorry. The AFC South. No, we talked about the AFC East, South,
Yeah,
West.
we got.
Me already.
Yep.
I feel like
Where's the flag? I'm done. Where's the flag? Go ahead, Fred. Talk about Uncle Ufo's our ad. I'm going to find the yellow laundry.
Uncle Uvo. Oh, wow, he's leaving.
he just he threw in the towel. He's done with all this.
This is also my bedtime. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, listen, 4 a.m. for me has been my starts, so it doesn't
Alone.
give much time for relaxation or recouping for a podcast.
No. And then we got Uncle Ufo banging our door down.
Yeah, exactly. So let's hear from our one and only faithful sponsor.
Uncle UFO's Old Grey Whiskey. Now that's a name that tickles the tongue. A stellar ale, brewed for those who dare to dream and drink. This ain't your average hooch. It's got a kick like a mule and a flavor that'll make you howl. Pour it in a glass and watch it shimmer like the night sky. Who knew whiskey could be so pretty? But hold on, does it taste as good as it looks? One sip, and I'm ready to launch into orbit. It's smooth, with a hint of mischief so you can embrace your natural instincts, like a man. So if you're looking for a drink to help you embrace the rugged and experience the impossible, Uncle UFO's got your back. Grab a bottle of Uncle UFO's Old Grey Whiskey, and let's toast to the cosmos.
Let's
You're lucky I
toast to
couldn't
the
find the
cosmos,
flag.
everybody. All right.
Got those frying sauces.
Welcome
Don't-
back, Ray.
I couldn't
Welcome
find the flag, but penalty on Alex.
Look,
Your flag,
okay.
end of the
Look.
game.
You didn't hear this, but look, Ray and Fred and I both agree. This is our bedtime. Leave us alone.
Yeah.
And it's not my bedtime? Who's the one that works 3 jobs out of all of us here?
Oh, boo.
Yeah.
Whose
exactly.
job starts the earliest in the morning?
Yours.
Yay!
All right. So now that we've had our sponsor, guys, let's plow ahead and talk about our last segment of the night. And before we sign off, let's talk about
It's
two segments.
We
Last
didn't go
two
to Black
segments.
Monday, and we didn't do our postseason
Okay.
predictions.
So
you
what we
are
want?
flagged. Fred, take over the host. He's done.
Okay, so here we go. We are switching over to Black Monday. So, Ray, break it down for those who don't know what Black Monday is, and then,
I thought we were. I thought we were breaking it down. Okay, I'm sorry.
of course, we're breaking it down.
All right,
should-
woo!
Woo! Okay. Anyway,
I gotta come up with-
Be kind, sir. Be kind.
That was
Yeah.
being kind.
talk us through. Give us some background, and then we'll move
So-
forward with.
Unlike Black Friday, where everybody enjoys to go shopping and enjoy themselves and everything like that, Black Monday is pretty much the death penalty for coaches in the NFL. There were already 2 coaches fired prior to the end of the season, being the Giants and Titans. Black Monday consisted of 5 more head coaches being fired. We've mentioned a couple of them. The Falcons fired Raheem Morris. The Browns fired head coach Kevin Stefanski. The Raiders, after 1 season, have fired Pete Carroll. The
Which
Cardinals
to me-
fired,
Guys.
the Cardinals have fired Jonathan
They held out
Gannon,
way
which-
too long.
You think? Yeah, I mean, 1 year, and then the Ravens have fired John Harbaugh. So there are currently 7 teams in the NFL looking for their next head coach right now. I mean, the hottest job has to be the Baltimore Ravens, if I'm being brutally honest.
think
The only
so.
other one after that, I think, would be, in all honest opinion, the New York Giants, because I think they're going to be a team that comes out and punches everybody in the mouth next year once everybody comes back and gets healthy. And I think Fred would agree with that as well.
Well, I think the coaching job isn't just the head coach. I think there has to be, they're replacing 3. So really there has to be some cohesion. There has to be, a unified game plan with all the pieces that we have. So that's still, let's say any given team, if you're replacing a head coach, yes, you might have a new structure, you might have a new direction, but you still have kind of the foundation with your coordinators all in play. But right now, the Giants don't have that. So, in order for there to be cohesion and moving forward with the new mindset, the new play approach, as well as, you know, who's going to click with who's going to rub each other the wrong way, some of that is going to end up having to work itself out in the first couple of weeks of the season. But if everyone's healthy, yes, I agree with you. The opportunity to be able to be head coach of the New York Giants for next year looks absolutely spectacular.
Which I'm glad you brought up coordinators and like 2 other coaching jobs, because that brought me into my next part. There were a couple big coordinators that had big names. The Cowboys fired defensive coordinator Matt Eberflus after 1 season.
Which
This is going to be
surprising to me.
This is going to be their 5th defensive coordinator in 5 seasons. They have not maintained a defensive coordinator at all.
That's what's surprising.
Same with the Raiders. They're looking for their 5th head coach in 6 seasons now. That's just – I don't like the coaches are not getting a chance to implement their system. You hire a guy. Nobody's going to learn the system in 1 year. You're going to have ups and downs. You're not going to start hot. You're going to make trades. And I thought what Aaron Glenn was doing was the right thing. Give him a chance. The Jets are giving him a chance. I know a lot of people are saying he's not the guy, but give him a chance. That's what the Jets are at least trying to do.
I really thought the Raiders were going to stick with Pete Carroll at least for another season. He's a guy with a proven track record. He's a player's coach, and the guys are really responding to him. But also, the Raiders don't really have a quarterback, so you can't really hold it against the head coach when you don't have the arguably one of the most, if not the most, important position on the field nailed down.
Right.
So, if anything, the Raiders, they keep shooting themselves in the foot, and that's why I consider them the AARP of the NFL.
I think it's just the Davis effect, if I'm being honest, as far as the Raiders go. But
You're not wrong.
Here's another name that I want to bring up because they parted ways with the team they were on. I think this could be potentially a good candidate for the Giants. Commanders and offensive coordinator Cliff Kingsbury parted ways to pursue other career opportunities. Could Kingsbury become a coach for the Giants and catapult that offense, being the offensive guru he is?
I would say, go ahead, Alex.
I may, Fred. I would caution anybody to hire Cliff Kingsbury, and here's why. Now, this could be the Kyler Murray effect.
But they're talking about getting rid of him, too. They fired their coach. They're talking about trading him out and moving on from him. So it could be that.
I would caution anybody hiring Cliff Kingsbury. I know he's kind of the brainchild of the modern air raid offense. My only issue is that historically speaking, in the first half of the season, his teams have been in the top 5 offenses in the entire league. Then in the back half of the season, they've been in the bottom half of the NFL because teams can figure out his offense. It's pretty predictable. I mean, it's not as predictable as, say, like the Philadelphia Eagles offense this year.
Well, look at what happened to Washington last year. They didn't figure it out last year with Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, but I think that was more catching lightning in a bottle. You had a lot of unknown pieces. You had a lot of new pieces. You had an unknown quarterback. And like you said, Ray, once you have somebody, attack them.
I'm just saying, I'm going off of your argument. Whenever Kingsbury was the coach, I'm pretty sure Murray was a rookie. So therefore, there was unknowns there. Hot the first half of the year, fell back. That was not the case with him as the OC in Washington. Granted, he didn't have to worry about offense and defensive game planning. He only had to worry about the offense in Washington. Maybe that has a little bit to do with it. But ultimately, with the way Murray's career has played out and them moving on from him, it could have been the Murray effect. I don't think it's all on Cliff Kingsbury what happened in Arizona.
I don't know. I understand the love affair with Cliff Kingsbury being the offensive mind. Me personally, I would just express some caution.
What about you, Fred? Being the Giants guy and Cliff Kingsbury coming available, is that something you would like the Giants to pursue, or are you saying stay away from him, look somewhere else? Or Don't die. Don't die. I know this is a very breathtaking question here.
It's really hard to think about.
Yeah, sorry about that. I don't think that an offensive coordinator is what we need as a head coach, to be completely honest with you. I think the offense is going to take care of itself. I think being able to have a system that is adaptable and allowing our excellent defense to actually defend. I think they were playing wrong most of the season. So, when they should have been playing tight to the line, they were laying back and allowing passing games. Whenever they should have been, covering for the passing game, they were sticking close to the line. And I think being able to know your system, but being able to execute your defense to where you're holding teams to less than 6 yards a down, like that is significant. So I think the focusing more on a defensive heavy coach for the head coaching position, I think Jackson Dart is capable with a few good receivers of making the offense rock. And he, as a scrambler, you're going to get rushing yards out of him. You have some offense that can kind of do its thing, but I think as strong of a defense as the Giants have, the numbers aren't showing it. And I think that is a coaching issue.
So let me ask you this then. Would you, as a Giants fan, love for them to go and call Minnesota and say, hey, what's it going to take for you guys to let us talk to Brian Flores?
I'll be honest, I do not think that our next head coach is coming from the NFL.
Oh. There's a crazy take for you.
I think that our next head coach is going to be a former college coach.
I know there's been a lot of rumors that Kirby Smart might be going to Atlanta, the Georgia head coach, staying local in that area. But there's rumors too.
There's also a former defensive coordinator that left the Giants years ago and then went to coach college, and his next career move would be a head coach somewhere.
Yeah.
So I the name escapes me at the moment, but I think that the Giants head coach is probably going to be from the college circuit, not the NFL circuit, because right now I think they need bigger changes and unexpected, more so than they need a name and a face that worked somewhere else and may or may not work in New York.
Fair enough.
I mean, take. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. There's going to be a lot of moving pieces, but I would think that they're going to give Jim Harbaugh.
John Jacob Jingo Hammersmith. His name is my name too.
One of the 35 Harbaughs.
Yeah, 35 Harbaughs. I think they would give Coach Harbaugh a look. I think if you're Coach Harbaugh, that's a little enticing. That's a little appealing. It's the New York market, but I wouldn't be opposed to it.
According to Adam Schefter as well, Kevin Stefanski is also a hot name in the NFL coaching search right now as well. A lot of people are calling him as well and saying, hey, we want you to be the head coach. He might not get a job, but he's getting interviews. This is coming from Adam Schefter, who is a very highly rated news person for the NFL. That is not me making it up. That is coming straight from him.
No, which I don't, I mean, when Adam Schefter says something, I usually listen. I don't understand the love affair with Kevin Stefanski. I really don't. I don't get it. I just don't get it.
I mean, it's the Browns. The Browns are going to Browns. They suck. So he went into a bad situation. He tried to make the best of it, and he couldn't.
You made a number 2 joke.
I don't mean to keep pushing us along, but is there anything else we want to touch on Black Friday before we move on to our postseason prediction?
The only other thing I want to touch on, and this is just a lot of fans want this to happen. There's no real talk of it. How long does Mike Tomlin keep his job in Pittsburgh? How long do you both think he remains the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers? Fred, I'll start with you.
Yeah.
Okay. The Steelers are expecting to win game 1 of every season.
Yeah.
That is the pulse of the Steelers nation every year. So when there's a lull and there's the quote hard times, that's when somebody pulls something out of their hat to create some kind of amazing thing that happens that gets them on top.
The black magic, as everybody likes to call it.
Antoine Randall L as an example. Like there's always something that Steelers fans are able to grab onto as, well, there's still hope. I think that keeping Tomlin for another season without winning is not what the fans are willing to put up with, because they're looking for some kind of change. The change, you can't convince a Steelers fan at this point that getting rid of Rodgers is necessary, even though at the beginning of the season there were a lot of fans that didn't want him there.
I mean, at this point, what are they going to do after Rodgers is done? He's getting old. He ain't going to make it very much longer. There is no next step for them.
No, he's talking about this being his last ride.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's why I don't think he's going to be there. I think ultimately, whoever lost that game in Week 18 was getting fired. And sure enough, Harbaugh got fired and Tomlin got to keep his job. Thus, if my aunt had man parts, she'd be my uncle. But
so here's my take on that. And so the Rooneys are very, how do I want to say, risk averse. The Rooneys have never, at least in our lifetimes, fired a head coach. They have always let the contract expire. I don't know what the current situation for Tomlin's contract is. I know, Ray, you're going to be looking that up right now because I can see you tickety-tacking away. But I could see the Rooneys letting Tomlin work out the remainder of his contract, whether that's a year, 2 years. I don't think they're going to let 3 years go by. I think 2 would be the max. I know that's not what Steelers fans are going to want to hear. That's not what they're going to.
So after this season, he has one more.
Okay. So I could see the Rooneys letting him work out the remainder of his contract, and then they just don't re-sign him. I know that's not what Steelers fans like. One of our friends, Justin Bollinger, Bolly, if you're watching us, shout out to you, buddy. I know you're not going to like this, but I really do think that the Rooneys, they're going to let Tomlin work out the remainder of his contract. If he doesn't at least get into the second round of the playoffs this year and next, they're just not going to re-sign him.
You're muted, buddy.
That is a very good point, because what I didn't think about was the fact that the Steelers are all about franchise players, coaches, whatever, and it would make sense for them to keep him the final year of his contract and then let him go quietly into the night.
That they're one of the very few legacy franchises in the NFL that still operates that way.
Right.
But I know Pittsburgh's like, okay, we get it. We're not having losing seasons. We're either 500 or we're winning, but that's not translating into success. When do we get to that next step? And that's where everybody's complaint with Tomlin is right now. You're not getting to the next step. When are we getting to that next step?
I honestly think it's going to be, and just they did this with Bill Cowher. They did not fire him. They let him work out the remainder of his contract, and they quietly let him go, and they brought in Mike Tomlin.
Didn't
I
he
think they're
retire though? I feel like he retired because he never went back into coaching and went straight into broadcasting.
Yeah,
back at
Cower never got renewed. He already was being offered because they knew he was going to be done. And
Okay, I didn't know the backstory to it. That's why
his
I was
final
asking.
season was the year after the Antoine Randall Super Bowl.
yeah,
Okay,
So
yeah. One of the
that
situations where you re-sign
he
him or you
had that.
sign him and he's just said, "I'm done."
Yeah, he had that win that closed out his coaching career. So
Yeah.
to
they only
finish out
had
the
three-
contract wasn't a big deal.
have they only had 3 coaches since what, the 70s? What is it? Chuck
Mhm.
Noll, Bill Cowher, and Mike Tomlin. That's it.
Mhm.
That's
Okay.
it.
So yeah,
So again, the Rooneys, to my point, the Rooneys are very risk averse. They're a franchise. They're an ownership family that's going to give, like you said, Ray. I'm surprised you aren't singing the Rooneys' praises. They are an ownership family that's going to let a head coach do his thing almost in perpetuity.
Now,
I really-
I'm
here's a
saying
question
from other
for you in
people's
that
perspective.
respect,
I never
Ray.
said that it was my issue. I'm saying, like, from a Steelers fan position, it was an issue.
No,
But
I
anyway,
understand.
Go ahead, Fred.
I think they're going to work out the remainder of his contract.
Yeah. My question to you, Ray, is since Alex brought up the point, do you think that it is kind of a detriment to the NFL that more teams aren't like the Steelers in keeping a coach, allowing them to develop, giving them time to do their thing, and then making a decision 2-3 years down the road? Should that be something that more teams are looking at rather than allowing the turnover to occur so often? And,
I think a lot of the NFL owners are hoping for lightning in a bottle. We're going to hire the next best guy. He's going to get us back on track. But with a lot of these teams that are firing coaches, they're also bottom of the barrel teams. Browns, Raiders. Normally, I would say the Lions, but I think Dan Campbell was a great hire, and I think they're on the right track with Dan Campbell. So I'm going to move past the Lions on that one. But you look at the other losingest teams in history, they're constantly firing coaches. They're constantly bringing in another guy. It's, well, we need this. We need this. We need the next best guy. We need to bring somebody in. No, you need to let somebody set their ground and let them do their thing. Another fun fact for you, Bill Belichick was a head coach for the Cleveland Browns, and he got traded to New England. And look where he succeeded, New England. If you keep him down in Cleveland, Tom Brady could have been a Brown. Who knows? Maybe what happened in New England could have happened to Cleveland, but they keep firing and getting rid of everybody instead of just letting it go.
it makes you wonder. Makes you wonder too. Aren't there penalties on contracts when you fire a coach in the NFL?
I think it's with coaches and players. You get some kind of cap penalty. I don't know exactly what the rule is, but
coaches don't affect cap. Coaches do not affect the cap penalty. Okay. It all depends on how the contract is written. Like, for example, with Raheem Morris, Arthur Blank, they could have voided the remainder of his contract, but they instead agreed to pay Raheem Morris the remainder of his contract. A coach's contract does not count toward the salary cap.
So it makes me wonder, the teams that have that turnover, would they do better to take that money, keep the same coach for 3 years, and invest that same money they would have paid for the excess for the turnover and get another decent player?
Now you're
coordinator, or just another coordinator. Yeah.
Now you're an economic question that you could also ask of almost any job or any organization anywhere.
Right.
In any position.
But it's just like how I feel about quarterbacks too. And this is the Green Bay way. I've been a fan of the Green Bay way. You draft a quarterback, you let them sit, let them learn the system, and then you plug them in. It's just like a coach in a way. You hire a guy, you bring him in, let him set his system into the ground. Nobody is going to learn your system in 1 year. It's just like a quarterback, a rookie quarterback. He's not going to know the system in 1 year. What are you going to do? You're going to let him figure out what he knows best, and that's what you're going to play in that game. You're not going to open up the whole playbook for somebody who's been in the NFL for one game.
It makes me wonder why the the hiring from within doesn't happen in the NFL.
It's all about name. It's all about marketing.
It's
it's all about the marketing. It's all
this
about
right here. It's all about the Benjamins.
We've been going on for a while now, guys. Let's make our postseason predictions and let's make this snappy because some of us have got to go to work early in the morning.
Yes.
Looking at you, buddy. So
you guys act like you have to work 13, 16 hours tomorrow. We're fine.
Jeez.
You might have to be at work early, but I got the long day tomorrow. So,
well, I mean, it's still 12 hours, but you know,
fine, fair enough. All right, so with the postseason coming up, guys, what are we looking at? Let's just take it for just this week, and then we'll talk about the coming weeks here as we go along. What do we see in this first round of the playoffs?
So we're just talking wild card today.
You want to kick off the matchup?
Let's talk wild.
Wild card will start in the AFC. I'll take it one team at a time. We'll all go kind of touch base on that. I have it brought up on my phone, so we'll just go right down what my phone has here. Denver Broncos, obviously the number 1 seed of the AFC. They got their bye. So the first game I have on my list right here is going to be January 12th at 8:15. You have the Steelers hosting the Houston Texans. I think, in my opinion, this is a no-brainer of a pick, but we all know how we are about my picks. I'm taking Houston in this one. I don't see Pittsburgh really touching Houston. Houston's defense is too solid. I think Houston moves on to the next round.
As much as it pains me, Ray, I agree.
I'm going to go the other route on this one.
Whoa.
Because
this is the word where you say, okay, Ray picked this. Bet this, guys. This is what Brett's doing.
Well, no. Here's why. I don't see them as being a one and done. I think Pittsburgh. I think Aaron Rodgers has that. I gotta scrape a little more. I gotta dig a little deeper, and if it means fighting with the coaching staff in order to get the second half of the game to produce and play the plays he wants to, and do some audible magic, then so be it. But I think that the Steelers are still capable of holding their own in this one and getting through round 1.
All right, we shall see. 2-1 for the Steelers, but we'll see.
And then the next one on my list is January 11th at 1 p.m. We have the number 3 Jacksonville Jaguars at home against the number 6 Buffalo Bills. Again, I like I said earlier, I haven't been high in the Jaguars all year. I'm still they had a great season. I'm not going to take that away from them. They did awesome. They're not beating Buffalo though. I have Buffalo winning this one and keeping it 2-0 for the lower seeds in the playoffs for my predictions. Fred?
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with the Jaguars.
Again, you're just thinking the opposite of I am.
Well, here's why though. Here's why. I think the home team advantage is gonna have a bit of a weight on that. And then also I think the momentum is on the Jaguars side. I think the Bills always are the steady horse that is going to make it to the end. But the steady horse that makes it to the end doesn't win. Okay. So I think if the Jaguars are doing what I think they're doing, they're starting to kick it in for playoff time, and I think this is going to be a Jaguars win, and the Bills will kind of drift off into nothingness like they do on many seasons.
Well, this is also, I think the only reason I'm thinking the Bills on this one is just the storyline of like, this is the last year of our home stadium. Let's give the fans something to go out with in memory of that stadium too, because that stadium's getting demolished. They're not going to have
but it's away. It's an away game now.
Yeah, but it's the storyline for the Bills. Like, it's the last year. Yeah, that's where I'm at with it. I could be wrong, but
I'm really struggling on this one. But I go back to our conversation earlier earlier in the podcast where I said how the Jaguars have been quietly one of the more dominant teams in the NFL. Yes, they have Trevor Lawrence and Travis Hunter and ETN. But when you think about the other names on the roster, you can't really think of them, but they're still dominant and they're still a very good football team and been quietly having one of the better seasons in the NFL. If I were a betting man, and I don't bet on sports, and you both know that I do not bet on sports, but if I were a betting man, I'd be putting money on the Jags.
Oh, I'm the oddball in this one. Okay.
Yeah.
I will say, this is one of the only two games that Vegas has a 1.5 point differential. Everybody else, Vegas has a little more favored in a playoff game. The only other close game we'll touch on later on, but that is Vegas predicts that to be a heck of a game. The last one for the AFC, we have New England, the number 2 seed, hosting the number 7 Chargers. Vrabel, Drake May, New England. This is the only high seed I have winning in the first round out of my predictions. I think the Patriots take this one, no contest against the Chargers.
Patriots.
See, this is a rough one again because
It's a rough one for him because Ray picked the Patriots and he doesn't want to pick what Ray picks.
No. because the Chargers are not. They're an any given Sunday team.
Oh, absolutely, without a doubt.
So I completely understand this is not a sure bet, but I think it's a money making bet.
Yeah.
So yes, as much as I'd like to, I have to go. Yeah, same as you guys, Patriots. Man,
Alrighty.
I wanted to go against Ray on that so badly, but
I knew it.
Justify it.
So that wraps up what we have in the AFC. We'll try to do an episode next week to kind of keep going with the playoffs. So right there's what our AFC predictions are. Now, the NFC, the Seattle has the number 1 seed. They have the bye. Vegas has this being the biggest blowout of the playoffs coming up here on January 10th at 4:30. The number 4 Panthers hosting the number 5 Rams. The Rams have 10.5. Vegas is giving them. Nobody is giving Carolina a chance in this one. I'm not giving Carolina a chance in this one. Give me the Rams in this one.
I'm going to take the Rams.
Well, for your daughter's sake.
Oh, here we go.
I hope Carolina wins, but
I
I'm
have
going
my
with
hope.
the Rams.
I have. Let's be honest. Is what I'm going with this here. So
I'm going with the Rams as well.
yeah.
They're all unanimous with the Rams.
So the next one here, even Vegas has this at 4.5. The number 3 Eagles, number 6 49ers. Eagles are getting the 4.5 on this one. Vegas is saying Philly is favored at home against the Niners. I'm actually taking the Niners. I know I was high on Philadelphia. They were my Super Bowl pick. Not to win it, but my Super Bowl pick to represent the NFC beginning of the year. I thought they were going to do great. They're still in the playoffs, but they didn't finish strong like I thought they were going to. I thought they were going to finish 3 out of 4, maybe lose to Buffalo and be fine. They lost to Washington. I don't think they have the momentum going in that they need. I think the 49ers take this one.
I'm looking at the body of work that the Philadelphia Eagles have done. They have been unimpressive, emphatically unimpressive on the offensive side of the football, which is an absolute crime considering how talented their offensive roster is. As much as I said earlier in the podcast when we were talking about the NFC East, how the Niners are banged up and they have a real hard test and the Eagles have the better offensive and defensive lines. For once, I'm going to take Brock Purdy. I think Brock Purdy is going to take it to the Eagles. I think Quinyon Mitchell, who has been arguably the better, if not the best cornerback in the NFL, he gets beat on a 20-yard out route, and the 49ers win the game in a nail-biter.
I unfortunately have to say that this game is 100% the Eagles' game to lose. It's not so much. It's not so much a matter of whether or not they can pull out a win. It's whether or not they can keep any kind of grasp on a win. So I would have to go with the 49ers too, because I don't see them holding on and keeping that hope alive. I don't.
Surprisingly, we're all unanimous in the NFC so far. I think that's kind of surprising.
Okay, I'm going to change two of mine. No, just
the last one is where Vegas also has the closest game outside of the Jaguars and Bills. Green Bay is being given 1.5. The number 2 Bears hosting the number 7 Packers. The past 3 seasons, Green Bay has won as the 7th seed. They have split the series 1-1 against each other. This is the 3rd time they have played. I have gone back and forth on this one a lot. I have also said that I am glad we're playing the Bears personally, because I think the Bears were a favorable matchup compared to the Eagles, if I'm being honest. I know the Packers are really banged up. Not as banged up as a lot of other teams, but they're missing a lot of key positions there as well. I'm still taking the Packers, baby. I got to keep it PG. Forget the Bears. Go Pack, go. We're beating the Bears and moving on to the next round to take on Seattle.
I disagree. I think the Bears have been the better team overall this season. I'm not one to really ride the momentum aspect when it comes to this, but the Bears have the momentum here. They've been playing more complete football.
Last game against the Lions. They're 2-4 in the division.
And I understand that,
but that was the Lions.
They've been playing. They've been playing more complete football. They're a more complete football team. And here's the other thing: the Packers' defense is banged up. I'm taking the Bears here.
Well, as much as I'd like to say,
does a bear crap in the woods?
I was not actually going to say that at all.
Oh,
oddly enough.
My bad.
As much as I'd like to say, as I've had the rare opportunity of having the confidence in the Packers more than Ray has this season.
But here's where he says Ray has faith in him, so now I'm picking the Bears.
No. Here's what I'm saying. I'm saying that yes, the defense was the reason why I had confidence there. And Ray had said that he didn't feel that the defense was going to hold out and was going to collapse. And in his correct prediction, there's now holes in the defense that make the Bears a lot stronger of a contender. So, on that note, I'm going with the Bears.
The Bears.
It's the playoffs. I gotta support my team. I'm not a trader like this guy right here. I gotta support my team.
Okay,
in that case, I'm going with the Giants.
I'm a real. Right. I'm an Eagles fan through and through, but I also know my team sucks.
It's postseason time, baby. Look what they did against the Cowboys.
Watch us all. Watch this be the second. Watch this be the second tie that Green Bay gets this season.
You can't tie in the playoffs, Fred.
I was about to say, are we going to talk about our very first playoff tie? What are we talking about here?
Yes, first playoff tie in history.
Oh, I got to support my team. If they would have been playing the Eagles, to be honest, I probably would have picked the Eagles. I know I was giving you crap about being a trader, but it's a rivalry game. Green Bay has owned the Bears for the past how many seasons? I just don't see Green Bay losing to Chicago.
But the Bears didn't have Sanders before.
They don't have Sanders.
Come on.
They have Caleb Williams.
I'm kidding.
Well, We have a lot to watch for, a lot of interesting games to see. We're going to check back in next week after all the games have been played and see who was right, who was wrong, and we'll make our next predictions. I have to say, guys, this has been one of our longer podcasts, but it really doesn't feel that way.
Yeah.
I think it was on par for what we normally do.
It's been a little bit longer, but we did have a lot to cover, and I think the way that this crazy season has been, I think having to touch on things is exactly what we needed.
I agree.
So it's been fun.
Saturday night, if you guys are free, if you want to do a watch party, if you will, the game will be on Amazon Prime. I'm not working Saturday evening. Fred, you're welcome to come over. We could throw you up on my side with me. Alex, if you want to join on yours from where you're at, we could throw the game up on the TV. You guys could blast me for picking the Bears, and I could root for the Packers, and we could do our own little thing watching the game.
We will see.
We can talk about on the side, obviously. But
you remember, for those of you watching the podcast, you don't know this, so I'm announcing this on the internet. I'm having my wisdom teeth removed on Friday, so I will be groggy.
Hilarious
Oh,
to be on here.
Yeah, thank
you, Fred.
That's all the more great for a watching party.
Exactly.
Even if it's it's still.
and then we come in for you and say, yeah, Arita said the Eagles stink. He's finally coming out and saying he's no longer an Eagles fan. He's finally saying he likes the Giants now and go Giants. He's no longer an Eagles fan.
And he secretly wears a Packers jersey on the weekends.
Oh, my God.
He's coming out of the closet with his cheese head.
Right.
That would be the day. All right. Well, that has been a podcast with those of us here on the Frozen Takes crew. Again, we say this all the time, but if you enjoy what you saw and you want to see more of it, we really would love to see your comments down below. But most of all, we cannot do this without your support. So please like, comment, and subscribe down below. Check us out on Discord. Leave us a comment there. Whatever you got to do, we will be coming at you next week with our postseason picks. As always, I'm Alex. I'm joined by Fred and Ray. We're the Frozen Takes crew. And that's it. Until next week.
I bid you adieu.
See y'all later. We'll see you next week at Frozen Takes.
Stay cool out there.